Do you remember when netbooks were first a thing? Those beautiful Chinesian bricks of brittle plastics and lowered expectations? Of course you do, because they were just that bad. Mutter the syllables EPC in a room of IT veterans and you'll experience one of the most synchronized collective sighs you've ever heard. Much like introductory college courses, early netbooks were important because they laid the foundation for something bigger down the road. Smaller, more affordable mobile computing. But much like a giddy college freshman, those pioneering souls who bought one of these were in for a little disappointment. I drive an hour each way and paid $1,500 for a course that's basically a high school recap. Damn right you did. But now it's 2011. The X120e was released last year, which was sort of the US version of the Thinkpad Edge and the taller, better-looking brother of the S10-3. The X120e can basically be looked at as a ThinkPad netbook, because that's really what it was. It brought the style, build quality, connectivity, and price premium of a ThinkPad to a netbook form factor. What you are looking at now is its predecessor, the X120e, which looks identical to the X100e besides the addition of an HDMI port in the place of a USB port, which was moved to the other side of the laptop. Now, while we are on the topic of I/O, this little 11.1 by 8.2 by half-inch 3-pound machine sacrifices absolutely no connectivity to its size. It has a full-size HDMI port, VGA port. Think about that. This tiny little laptop has 2 video out ports. Now today you're lucky if you get a single video out port on a full-size 15-inch machine. And this little laptop has 2 of them. We got 3 USB ports in addition to that, and those are USB 2.0 ports, an SD card reader, Ethernet, audio jack, webcam, microphones, and a 11.6-inch 1366 by 768 TFT display, which surprisingly, unlike many ThinkPad screens of this era, won't make your eyes bleed. No, seriously, the viewing angles on this screen are actually okay, colors are decent, and 1366 by 768 works perfectly for a screen of this size. Since the screen is so small, you don't notice the individual pixels like you would on, say, a 1366 by 768 T400 series screen. Along with all that, you get all the typical ThinkPad amenities, which include the excellent keyboard, decent trackpad, track point, and 2 sets of trackpad buttons, plus a center scroll button. Surprisingly, Lenovo decided not to give the X100e series that defining rubberized-like lid surface that nearly all ThinkPads have, and instead made it smooth, black plastic. The design, which is just a Honey I Shrunk the Kids version of every other ThinkPad, has aged pretty well, because simplicity never gets old. Simplicity is beautiful, especially in an age where everything needs to be a complicated touchscreen interface and Dad needs to set up 12 NSA Alexas throughout the house. For that seamless home assistance experience, when this came out in 2011, its looks screamed, I'm going to get shit done. And today, in 2019, it still does. Now, as to whether it actually gets shit done, that's a different story. There were 2 different processors you could get with this machine. There was the slow but somewhat usable dual-core AMD E350 APU, or the I'm a budget-minded masochist single-core E240 APU, which is what I have. Both of these APUs came with Radeon HD 6310 graphics, the drivers for which are compatible with Windows 10 by the way, and these systems could be configured to have up to 4GB of DDR3 RAM and a 128GB SATA solid-state drive out of the factory. Did I also mention that the I/O inside is also really impressive? Pop off the back cover and you'll have access to 2 mini PCI Express slots, 2 RAM slots, a SIM card slot, and a 2.5-inch drive bay. Now, to give this X120 a fighting chance, I tossed in an 8GB stick of DDR3 in addition to the 2GB already in it, for a total of 10GB of DDR3 RAM. And I'm using a 128GB Adata solid-state drive. Yeah, it's overkill, but at least now we can pretty much isolate any bottlenecks to the APU. And here's where the comments section shitstorm is about to begin. For the testing operating systems, we will be using a 64-bit installation of Windows 10 Pro and Elementary OS. Why not Windows 7? Well, on this channel we use older hardware with newer supported OSs, and Windows 7's days are numbered unfortunately. With regards to Elementary OS, yeah, we could have gone with something lighter like Lubuntu or Xubuntu, but I've been using those a lot, and frankly, they're starting to get a little stale, even though they are two excellent lightweight distros. Since the Radeon drivers do work on Windows 10, it is possible to run some 3D games and benchmarks, but performance is abysmal as expected. And almost anything with 3 dimensions is going to look like a slideshow. Where the Radeon graphics really shine through is the general use of the operating system. When windows eventually open, you can drag them around the screen without screen tearing, and the general Windows 10 animations are all butter smooth. General system performance with Windows 10 is absolutely terrible. No surprise there. Honestly, Windows 10 is unusable with this single-core processor. It reminds me a lot of using Windows 10 on an Atom N450 back when I had a Latitude 2120 on hand. It's a little bit faster than a Celeron M, but not fast enough to be a daily driver like an Intel N550 or an AMD E350 would be. It would make a great headless machine for a project that required a portable low-power server. These single-core netbook processors can still be useful today, just not as your work or school machine. Once again, to no surprise, usability does improve with Elementary OS. Applications open a lot faster, and the GUI is still fluid despite the fact that we are stuck using the default drivers. However, it's still not daily driver material. Anything but the lightest applications will bring the E240 to its knees. With Elementary, you could probably get away with some light coding, word processing, and network experimentation, but you're still going to need to refrain yourself from browsing the web or any sort of light gaming. I know I'm making things sound really grim right now, but they're not. Sure, you can't use this PC as a daily driver. Well, you can't use the single-core version at least. You might have a fighting chance with the dual-core version. But the single-core version does have a place, especially since it's so cheap. You can get one of these for peanuts off eBay. A single-core model will run you about $20 plus shipping, with the E350 models coming in at about double that. So, for nearly the same price as a SBC, such as the Raspberry Pi, you can get a full laptop with display, keyboard, trackpad, and an x86 processor to use as an experimentation machine / light server. And that's not that bad. That's awesome, actually. And it's completely self-contained, unlike an SBC setup, since it's a laptop. If you're interested in checking out the seller where I bought this X120e from for $20, the link to the seller store will be in the description. If you want to see more of this X120e, we have an entire gallery, and not that many people know this, on our website at www.aacatarchives.com. And that link will also be in the description for you guys. Thanks for watching. I know it's been a while since we published the video. I got stuck with, work and finals. I did not have any extra time, so it was a bit of a struggle, but finally managed to push a new one out. We do have a Netbook shootout coming up, so I'm really excited for that. That will be the video following this one. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next installment of A Computers and Technology.